Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. Have you ever been in an argument and you seem to be talking past each other? Each one gets a chance to speak, and yet every time someone speaks, nothing new is said. It's just different words being uttered. That's really what I see going on here. Job's friends stand up and say that Job is a sinner who needs to repent, while Job stands up and says that he is not, and that his suffering is simply due to the hand of God being against him, because it seems to be God's will at that moment. We have had each of Job's friends speak once, and Eliphaz and Bildad speak twice, and this pattern has persisted. And here in Job 19, we get Job's response, and if you've been watching this series up to this far, you know what you'd expect. But it's still good that we read it, for understanding Job's state of mind is important, for it will be used by God at the end of the book to reprove Job. So, if you have a Bible with you, you can turn to the book of Job. We're going to be reading starting in chapter 19 from verses 1 to 12. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Job chapter 19, beginning of verse 1. Then Job answered and said, "How long will you torment my soul and break me in pieces with words? These 10 times you have reproached me. You are not ashamed that you have wronged me. And if indeed I have erred, my error remains with me. If indeed you exalt yourselves against me and plead my disgrace against me, know then that God has wronged me and has surrounded me with his net. If I cry out concerning wrong, I am not heard. If I cry aloud, there is no justice. He has fenced up my way so that I cannot pass. And he has set darkness in my paths. He has stripped me of my glory and taken the crown from my head. He breaks me down on every side, and I am gone. My hope he has uprooted like a tree. He has also kindled his wrath against me, and he counts me as one of his enemies. His troops come together and build up the road against me. They encamp all around my tent." In chapter 18, Bildad was very blunt. "Job, you're obviously a sinner because everything that has happened to you happens to wicked people. Never mind that fact that these same things have happened to righteous people too, since they happen to wicked people, according to Bildad's theology. Job must be wicked and sinful. If only he would repent, then his blessings would be restored. But just as Bildad was frustrated with Job in chapter 18, Job is equally as frustrated with his friends here in chapter 19. He asks them how much longer will they torment him and break him into pieces with their words, echoing Bildad's complaint about Job back in Job 18 verse 2. He says that 10 times his friends have reproached him and are not ashamed that they have wronged him. Now, is Job sitting there counting how many times they reproached him, like I'm sure some people may have gone back to do here? No. Job is using a figure of speech, with 10 often being used as a number of completion. It's like saying, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. We haven't literally told someone something 1,000 times. Our point is that we have told them many times. Job is saying the exact same thing about his friends. Their reproaches against him were many, and their lack of shame in doing so was telling. If Job was really in sin, their words did not change that fact, for they did not cause him to change. Why would they be true? Were they not direct enough? No, they were very direct. In fact, the more these speeches have progressed, the more direct they became. Why then did they not convince Job to repent? Because they did not tell him what his sin was. They appealed to wisdom alone. This is what happens to the wicked. They suffer. You're suffering, therefore you must be wicked. What sin were they accusing Job of? Beats me. And I'll bet it eluded them too. They just knew that he was a sinner of some sin because he was suffering. That type of argumentation rarely wins someone over, especially someone who declares that they are not a sinner. No, Job wasn't saying he never sinned. He's saying that he isn't suffering due to his sin. To Job's friends, they see it as obvious that God is causing Job's suffering due to his sin, while to Job, he sees it as obvious that both the righteous and wicked suffer, so suffering must be because it is God's will, and God chose to cause it. For what reason is God's? But Job acknowledges the righteous suffer, and since God is the ruler of this universe, upholding it by the word of his power, God must have caused it. Now, of course, God causing our general suffering apart from sin is wrong, but that's what Job believed. And he turned to his situation to try to prove it. Job cries out to God about his own situation. That which he views as wrong, God doesn't hear. God doesn't provide justice when Job cries out for it. Job has been seemingly fenced in with his suffering with no way out. Darkness has been set in his path with no light in sight. Job's earthly glory had been stripped away from him, and he has been uprooted like a tree. God's wrath seems to be upon him for no reason, and Job is counted as one of God's enemies. There's no rhyme or reason for God's actions, but Job says that God, as God, has the right to do them. In that, Job is right. God has the right to do as he pleases, for he is our creator. But Job is wrong in his assumption that his suffering is at the hands of God. We know it was at the hands of Satan, but Job didn't. And what this entire narrative is pointing out to us is that man doesn't have all the answers to every question, and we need to humbly admit that to ourselves and submit ourselves to God in whatever situation we're in, not seeking to blame God for our troubles. God will be there with us in times of suffering, just as he was for Job, and that he did constrain Satan, not allowing Satan to kill Job, though Job would have liked that. God was proving a point to Satan that would not have been possible had Satan been allowed to kill Job. And he was going to teach a lesson to Job through suffering as well. We'll conclude chapter 19, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Job chapter 19, verses 13 to 29, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.